I hope you have utilized Sunday in revising all the three scholars. Today we are going to have a critique of Max Weber and a comparison on all the three. Okay. And after this class, I would assume many things. So you may ask questions, whatever you guys may be having, because if you do not understand what I am going to tell you today, फिर भूल जाओ सोशियोलॉजी, नहीं आएंगे मार्क्स। सीधी सी बात। कहाँ गए ये? Okay. So let us begin with, firstly, let us begin with some of the important issues. Good afternoon, sir. Pranav. First, let us understand what have we covered in Weber and what is finally the position of Weber. Okay. We have read so many things in Weber. Okay. He was one of the longest one. So we started our journey with, a social action, Festehen. We read this also, and then we also read ideal type, and then we read authority, bureaucracy, and then we also read Protestant ethics. And spirit of capitalism. Okay. We read so many things in Weber. But the question is, let me start with the last topic itself. Protestant ethics, spirit of capitalism. Okay. Bureaucracy, authority, ideal type, Festehen, social action. Now the fact is, in this Protestant ethics, we can see bureaucracy. I'll show you how. We can see authority, we can see ideal type, we can see Festehen, we can see social action. As I told you, these were rivers which were destined to finally meet the ocean. Okay, Protestant ethics. The question is how? Okay, now I will tell you how. Let us start with social action and connect it to Protestant ethics. Now see, if you remember, Max Weber says that work is a religious, spiritual experience. Right? This is what Weber said. Work is a religious or spiritual experience. To whom? किसके लिए काम एक spiritual experience है? किन के लिए? Work is a, in fact not is, let me write was. Okay. Work was a religious or spiritual experience to Protestants. Work was a religious or spiritual experience to Protestant, right? Now, now the fact is, if work is spiritual experience to you as a Protestant, and You are working continuously, relentlessly, incessantly, in a non-stop fashion because you think you are indulging in a spiritual experience. This is what your ethics are. Think about, just think like this. When you are working, you are not working to earn money. When you are working, to you, it is like going to temple. This is if you have this kind of belief while working, which is very unique and not found everywhere, just anywhere in the world. If you have this kind of belief, you are bound to create a system called as capitalism, which ultimately got developed later on. Okay, you were simply working out of your passion not to earn money, but to secure your seat in the heaven. This is the kind of belief those people had. Okay, and let me also, for revision purpose, clearly show you two things. You will see a lot of difference. In fact, let me draw it like this. Draw three models. Okay, three boxes. In one box, we write Catholicism. In second box, we write Protestantism. In third box, we write capitalism. Okay, you will see what I'm going to write here is not going to match with what I'm going to write here, because what I'm going to write here is going to match fully with what I'm going to write here. And then you will come to know that yes, there is a lot of congruence, correspondence, affinity between these two models. If you remember very well, in Catholicism, I told you what is the way to attain salvation. Salvation is attain salvation by rituals. Okay, by rituals and by purchasing indulgence. This was the path to attain salvation. Salvation means to secure your seat in heaven. उस टाइम तो यही ऑब्जेक्टिव होता था लोगों का, हेवन जाना है, और कोई जिंदगी में एम नहीं होता था. ओके, सेकंड, work until your immediate needs are met. वर्क अंटिल योर इमीडिएट नीड्स आर मेट. तब तक ही काम करो जब तक तुम्हारा खर्चा चल रहा है, उससे ऊपर ज्यादा काम करने की कोई जरूरत है नहीं. दिस इज व्हाट कैथोलिसिज्म इज. वर्क अंटिल योर इमीडिएट नीड्स आर मेट. थर्ड, प्रॉफिट इज सिन. Profit was sin to them. And fourth, distribute your wealth to poor. अपना पैसा गरीबों में बांटो. This is what the preachings or the ethics of Catholic people were like. Okay. Now see how different ethics of the Protestant are going to be. For them, the method to attain salvation is. What is the method to attain salvation to Protestant? बताओ. वर्क तो है. The fact is, Protestantism is telling us who is going to get to heaven is already destined, predestined. In the sense, it is not that by rituals or by purchasing indulgence you are going to go to heaven. Rather, your destination to heaven is booked. It already booked है आपकी. Predestination. That means what? Complete rejection of this, and this was replaced by predestination. Okay, who are going to go to heaven has already been chosen. No need to purchase indulgence, no need to get baptized, okay, no need to do any ritual. Okay, so the elect has already been chosen. The elect has already been chosen. Second, work until your immediate needs are met. This was Catholicism. What would Protestants say? What would Protestants say? Before writing this, let me talk about third point. Then you will understand. According to Catholicism, profit is sin. But do you know what is sin according to Protestantism? Sitting idle. खाली बैठना is sin. Idleness. क्या वैल्यूज हैं इन लोगों की बताओ. ऐसी होती है वैल्यूज. Idleness is sin. खाली बैठना पाप है. कमाना पाप नहीं है. Okay, idleness is sin. Fourth, ये बोलते हैं distribute your wealth to poor. Now you will see difference between the second and fourth point. You have already seen the difference between first and third, between Catholic and Protestants. What will they say on second point? It is calling. Okay, when you are working, it is an experience in calling. Can you stop worshipping after some point of time when you feel that you are happy now? No. Worship is something you will get indulged in forever. And this is not something that you will ever get satisfaction with. Okay. You will keep worshipping, and basically calling simply means to keep working. To keep working. Why? Because work is spiritual experience. Work is spiritual experience. ये बोलते हैं रुक जाओ, ज्यादा काम मत करो, नीड्स पूरी हो गई. ये बोलते हैं अरे काम करते जाओ, क्योंकि वर्क जो है स्पिरिचुअल एक्सपीरियंस है. कॉलिंग. Okay. These people say distribute your wealth to poor. What will they say? They will partially agree and partially reject. They will say we should be ascetic, definitely. But that does not mean that we should be distributing our wealth to the poor. This is not how we are going to manifest asceticism. Rather, asceticism is going to be manifested by investing our paisa, money or profit into something that is productive. Distributing amongst the poor is not a very productive thing. When you distribute 1 crore rupees to poor, is it productive? No, क्योंकि वो कल फिर आ जाएंगे आपके पास, बोलेंगे खत्म हो गए. Okay, that is not productive. So they will say asceticism should be there, but this is not just asceticism. This is ascetic materialism, a very different kind of asceticism. Ascetic materialism. You earn money, do not give all your money to poor, rather give money in something that is productive. Do not indulge in consumption. Okay, that is bad, but give something that is productive. Now, these are the kind of values of Protestants, which are very different from values of Catholics. Now the thing is, if you are every time indulged in पूजा पूजा, सारा टाइम पूजा ही करनी है, हमेशा सोचना है कि पाप हो गया, ये हो गया, will you be ever concentrating in work? Are you a productive worker to the capitalist? No, you are not a productive worker to the capitalist. On the other hand, to Protestant, they have this belief that we have already been chosen, but they do not know who amongst them are the chosen ones, and that is why they feel salvation anxiety. इनको एंजाइटी हो रही है कि हम में से कौन जाएगा, and that is why they felt that if we, after working, start earning, the more wealth we generate, the more our seat is secured. In the wealth they saw the grace of God. In the wealth they saw the opportunity that they are going to go to heaven. So wealth was not generated out of greed. It was generated out of their wish to secure their seat in heaven. And of course, when you already know that you are going to go to heaven by the increased number of wealth that you are going to generate, and that wealth is going to get generated from the work, so obviously you are productive to the capitalist class because they need hard-working workers. Hard-working workers. Protestant. Understood or not? Calling, predestination, these kind of values helped capitalist class to have productive workers. Idleness is sin. खाली बैठते ही नहीं है. Okay. So, boss will tell them work for one more hour. You can't go. They will say okay. They will be happily doing it. Complaint नहीं करेंगे वो कि नहीं घर में हमारा काम है, अभी छुट्टी है, वो आई हैं अभी दूर से आए हैं वो सारे लोग, ऐसे नहीं. अरे काम में वो भगवान को देखते हैं, करेंगे वो काम एक्स्ट्रा भी. Okay. So if idleness is sin, they will keep working hard and hard. So maximum hours they will give to work. Maximum hours to work. Asceticism, ascetic materialism. Whatever you have earned, if you are investing a large share of that wealth in productive things, that means you are doing investment. And when you are doing investment, this is what capitalism requires. You generate wealth, you invest it, you accumulate more wealth. This is what the spirit of capitalism is. Okay. That is reinvestment and productivity. Reinvestment and productivity. Now tell me, is this not the spirit? This is the spirit of capitalism. Hard work, efficient people, maximum work, maximum hours of work, not sitting idle, reinvesting and being productive. Is this not the spirit of capitalism? Okay. Now comes the most important point. Weber clearly saw so many things are matching with. पूरा कंप्लीट मैच है. ये ऐसे लगता है ये इसके लिए बना है और ये इसके लिए बना है. It seems as if both are meant for each other. Okay. और कैपिटलिज्म और इसका तो दूर तक कोई नाता ही नहीं है. एंड दिस इज नथिंग बट इंडियन. बेसिकली हिंदुइज्म जो है वो कुछ नहीं है, इंडियन कैथोलिसिज्म है. ओके. हिंदुइज्म एंड कैथोलिसिज्म, देयर इज नो डिफरेंस बिटवीन दीज टू. तो हिंदुइज्म में भी कभी कैपिटलिज्म नहीं आएगा अकॉर्डिंग टू वेबर. We do not have labor commitment. Okay, as much commitment as these people have, and they are not borrowing commitment. इनकी belief ही ऐसी है, इसलिए सबसे अलग होते हैं बाकी दुनिया से. बिल गेट्स जैसे लोग होते हैं ये. वॉरेन बुफे जैसे लोग होते हैं, मैकडोनल्ड जैसे लोग होते हैं. ओके, नाउ now is the most important point that I'm going to make. Sir, Jews were also famous for hardworking people. Then why capitalism does not rise in Zoroastrianism? See, you know what is the problem with Jews? Jews are investing a lot in lending. Okay, most of the wealth that they accumulated or generated was out of money lending practices. Okay, money lending. In the sense, they were sitting idle. When you are lending, your practice is to lend money. Of course, you are sitting idle. You lend money, you wait for the money to what do you call as gather interest, garner interest, and then you collect it back. Okay, so you are sitting idle most of the time, and you are not able to think beyond any given task of generating wealth, that is by money lending. Other than that, you are not able to think. This was what the pariah capitalism was. Okay, that's what Weber says. He gives the example of Jews only in that case. Okay, and also, you know, in any other religion, you see spirit of capitalism Max Weber could not see. Okay, for example, you know, in Islam, you will see many things which are haram, forbidden. In Islam, there are many things which are haram, forbidden in the sense, okay, and those forbidden things do not let the same spirit of capitalism to develop in Islam, according to Weber. Islam is practicing hedonism. Hedonism. Okay. अगर आपने पढ़ा हो hedonism, in the sense they they curse luxury. They curse participation of women in the work sphere. Okay, these are some of the, and I'm not saying this is what is the reality. I'm saying this is what the ideal type of Max Weber was on Islam, but I don't want to go into those details because वो सब MPhil PhD में होता है. Okay, हमारा सिर्फ BA ऑनर्स तक है. Sikhism, if you see, what do Sikh people do? ठीक है, आज की डेट में दिखता है बहुत पैसा है उनके पास. ठीक है, म्यूजिक वीडियोस बनाते हैं, एल्बमें निकालते हैं, उधार की गाड़ियां लेते हैं. ठीक है, ये सब तो करते हैं सिख लोग. ठीक है, कनाडा चले जाएंगे, ऑस्ट्रेलिया चले जाएंगे, वहां बिजनेस खोल लेंगे, टैक्सी ड्राइवरिंग करेंगे. ठीक है, गैस स्टेशन खोल लेंगे अपने. ओके, तो आई एम नॉट डिमीनिंग सिख पीपल. मैं तो खुद भी सिख हूं. बात ये कि प्रैक्टिकल यू नो जो है सो है. बात ये सीधी सी है. बात सीधी सी ये इसलिए है क्योंकि इफ यू लुक इनटू द प्रैक्टिसेस ऑफ सिख, you will see most of the wealth that they generate, they donate in langar or they donate in charity. Abhi during lockdown, what did you see? It was Sikh people only which helped all the homeless people. इनको चैरिटी करने की लगी रहती है. ठीक है, and when you donate most of your wealth in charity, you are not ascetic materialist. This is not what Protestant will be doing. Okay, rather Protestant would be investing in corona bonds, covid bonds. फर्क देखो, बहुत फर्क है. कोविड बॉन्ड, प्रोटेस्टेंट वुड नॉट बी सेंडिंग देयर मनी टू प्रधानमंत्री गरीब कल्याण योजना का जो फंड है, कोविड फंड. नो, दिस इज नॉट व्हाट दे, बट वी इंडियंस विल डू इट because we are emotional. Okay, Protestants will never do these kind of things. They will invest the same amount of money in bond, COVID bond. यूरोप में यही हुआ था, COVID bonds. Okay. Anyhow, now, if you remember, to a Protestant, To a Protestant, work is spiritual experience. Now I'm going to ask you a very important question. If work to me is a spiritual experience, what does it mean? Which kind of social action is it that I'm performing? Value rational social action. Effective. No? Yes, yes. See, you will see, you will see traditional, you will also see affectual, you will also see value rational, right? But you will not see Zweig rational. Agreed or not? Because work is spiritual experience. It is not Zweig rationality. Agreed or not? It is not Zweig rationality. You are not doing work because you have to make this much of wealth and you have so much investment plans for future. Okay, and out of that money you are going to make one bungalow, one purchase one car, or go for a foreign trip. Okay, or you want to become CEO. These are not the calculations that are going into it. It is purely spiritual experience, and when you are manifesting spiritualism, there is no calculation. इसमें there is no means and ends का calculation. You are simply spiritual without being utilitarian. Okay, and when you work and work a spiritual experience, there is no space for utilitarianism, calculation of means and ends. But Weber says Puritans. Remember this word. Puritans means the member of Protestants are also called as Puritans. These are synonyms basically. Synonym, Puritans or Protestants. Okay. Weber says, write down, Weber says, Puritans used to work in calling. Very important line. Puritans used to work in calling. And then I'll ask you the meaning also of the statement. Puritans used to work in calling, comma, but today they are forced to do so. क्या बात कही वेबर ने. But today they are forced to do so. इसी में सब कुछ छुपा है. Now, what is the meaning of this line? Okay. The Protestants were simply expressing their spiritual elements, spiritual feeling. They saw work as spiritual experience. They kept on working because to them work was nothing but worship. They kept on doing, kept on doing, kept on doing. Ultimately, rational capitalism, the values which are required for the generation of rational capitalism, those values were visible in the Protestants, and that is why in England and in Netherlands, rational capitalism got developed because of the productive expenditure and investment practices these people had ultimately. And since they were hardworking, they were considering idleness as sin, and therefore ultimately capitalism so developed. It developed, but what happened after that? After that, money that was a sign for you that you are going to go to heaven, the money had now become an end in itself. So, the same money which was a token for you, a grace of God for you, The same money had now become an end for you. Now you were working not to manifest spirituality, or you were not working in calling. Now you are working to generate wealth. And even if that generation of wealth may be coming at the cost of exploitation of others. ओके, अच्छा लगा शुरू में कि भगवान का नाम ले लेके पैसा आ रहा है और हमारी एंड, अब धीरे धीरे ग्रीड आ गई. ग्रेजुअली मैन बिकेम ग्रीडी बिकॉज ही सॉ दैट पीपल आर गिविंग हिम सो मच रिस्पेक्ट. क्या स्टेटस उसको मिल गया है सडनली. ओके, so he wanted to get more and more wealth, and that is how now wealth generation had become completely a manifestation of Zweig rational social action. And from there on, there were no more values, tradition, or affectual social action with the God. It was all everything with the money. And इसी चीज को, if you remember, Karl Marx used to say that initially we had C1, C2, then we had C1, MC2, and then finally in capitalism we have M1, C, M2, money becoming end. And here Max Weber is shaking hands with Karl Marx. Okay, बहुत क्लोज आ रहे हैं यहाँ पे वो दोनों. Okay, they are very close to each other when Max Weber is making this statement. Write down one line. Max Weber believed the money which was a sign of holy grace had now become an end in itself. Had now become an end in itself. And therefore it was no longer value rational social action, rather it was completely Zweig rational social action. It was no longer substantive rationality, rather it was completely formal rationality. Okay, okay, basically in very simple language, you are a person who is worshipping God every day before opening your shop. Okay, during the opening of your shop, you conducted ritual. Okay, सब कुछ किया, पंडाल लगवाया, खाना खिलाया सबको. ठीक है, दुकान आपकी खुलने जा रही है. Okay, every day you worshipped God. जब and you treated customers as manifestation of God. सब कुछ किया आपने, but ultimately when you started generating wealth, फिर कस्टमर नाराज भी हो रहे हैं. अरे कोई नहीं, अरे बहुत पैसा है, कस्टमर बहुत आएंगे हमारे पास, कोई नहीं, एक दो नाराज चलते हैं. ठीक है, भगवान सब भूल गए, वो धूल मिट्टी जल रही है मूर्ति पे, कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ रहा. ठीक है, money had now become an end in itself. And this was what Max Weber called as the advent of secularization. This was the advent of secularization in the world. इसी पॉइंट से दुनिया में सेक्युलराइजेशन शुरू हो गया. Now what is the meaning of secularization? Secularization simply means secularization. What is the meaning of secularization? Secularization means decline in. क्योंकि it is ization, so obviously it is a process. A process characterized by decline in religious beliefs or values. Of course, now if money making has become an end in itself, so therefore religious beliefs are now declining. That is why Max Weber says Puritans used to work in calling, today they are forced to do so. Okay. Calling का concept खत्म हो गया basically. This is what Weber is saying. Now, the final point. Who is Max Weber? Is he studying social action or is he studying structures? Is he really a micro scholar or is he also talking about macro structures? You must have seen one thing when we started our journey. We started our journey with social action of individuals. छोटा सा आदमी उसके मीनिंग्स को समझने की कोशिश कर रहा था मैक्स वेबर. Weber was trying to understand the meanings through fetch the hen. Fetch the hen. Okay. And gradually, Max Weber says, if you turn your pages also, you will see that I have dictated to you this thing as well, that large number of social action of the people resulted in formation of social structures. This is what I have also explained. The social action of large number of people like this, millions. If millions are working almost with similar belief, it led to the rise of capitalism. And these millions were in England and Holland. That is Netherlands. Okay. And this gave rise to a structure called as capitalism. Structure called as capitalism. Social structure. Okay. So individuals work to create capitalism. And now this the same capitalism is now forcing those individuals to generate wealth. क्या बात है? It was their action which led to rise of capitalism. Now this capitalism is forcing them to generate wealth. Capitalism as a structure is no longer in their hands now. To not think of making wealth is not in your hands now. Every day you will be thinking of making money. और कुछ काम नहीं रहेगा जिंदगी में. Okay. External to and yes, very nice, Pranshu. Okay. So now you will see Max Weber started with micro actions creating structures. Structures, when I talk about, I am talking about macro. And how the macro structures are now again regulating the micro individuals. And when I read this statement, if I break this and if I read only this, somehow I feel that Max Weber is talking just like structuralist. Just like structuralist like Durkheim, social facts, religion, external to and coercive of actors. Capitalism, external to, coercive of actors. These are social facts which have now assumed a reality and are now constraining individuals. Constraining individuals. Okay, you would not be able to think beyond generating wealth. Wealth making has become end. There is no more spirituality. Spirituality has become a token symbol कि भाई बिजनेस खोलने जा रहे हैं, एक दिन चले गए मंदिर, बाकी उसके बाद सिर्फ पैसा ही पैसा. Okay, so secondly, if you remember, again social action of large number of people he studied, and then he discussed the rise of authority structures. Authority structures means rise of bureaucracy, bureaucratization of society. Okay, bureaucracy, rational bureaucracy. Bureaucracy again is a social fact in language of Durkheim. Okay, if Durkheim were to say anything on that, he would say it is a social fact. When you would become bureaucrat, you would be bureaucratized. Okay. So again, the rules regulations would constrain you. You would not be able to help individual out of the given rules. You would have to confine yourself within the limits. So you will feel the constraining power of these structures. Okay. So Max Weber starts every time with individual social action. And बीच में पता नहीं क्या हो जाता है उसको. Suddenly he moves on to discuss social structures, grand scale social structures. Jabki he used to tell us the subject matter of sociology is the study of social action. But do you remember that after some point of time you got to know that subject matter of sociology is not just study of social action. He also said the subject matter of sociology is the study of social action, its causes and its consequences. If you remember this, what are the consequences of social action? The large scale social structures. Capitalism is the result of large number of people manifesting initially value rational social action, and then finally it has now become Zweig rational social action. Capitalism has assumed a reality of its own type, and now it is exerting control over individuals. Puritans used to work in calling, today they are forced to do so. ठीक है, सब एकदम लाइन में आ रहा है अब. Social action of large number of people led to the rise of bureaucracy, and now the bureaucracy, if you look into bureaucracy, if you see all the features of bureaucracy, impersonality. Okay, you cannot be emotional, okay, with anyone. Hierarchy, division of labor, merit based recruitment, everything is now becoming impersonal, rule bound, legal, rational, calculable, and everything is there to ensure efficiency. It is actually at the end the efficiency that has become end in itself, and this efficiency was actually coming from Protestants only, because it was the Protestants who were deemed as the highly efficient people, because they used to work hard with no complaint, and to sit idle was sin, and therefore they would do whatever is deemed necessary for them to be seen as efficient, because they want to secure their seat in heaven. There is no other way out for them who understand whether they are going to go to heaven or not. Salvation anxiety हो रही है तो everybody wanted to be as efficient as possible ताकि वो select few the elect में आ सके. ओके, सब कुछ एकदम कनेक्टेड है वेबर की इन बातों में, ठीक है. बट इतना कॉम्प्लेक्स हम नहीं जाएंगे, बिकॉज यूपीएससी के लिए हम तैयार करें तो एकदम जो बेसिक्स होने, वो जो बेसिक्स है हमारे, वो स्ट्रांग रहने चाहिए, ठीक है. सो एनी हाउ, what basically Weber concluded is that whether you talk about bureaucracy, that is rational bureaucracy, which is the modern form of bureaucracy, because we had bureaucracy even in ancient times, patrimonial, rational bureaucracy, rational capitalism, okay, these are the result of social action of Protestants. The bureaucratic structure that we have adopted, कहां से हमने लिए? यूरोप से. भाई, the bureaucracy that we have, Indian civil service, okay, that is from Europe ना. वो मॉडल तो यूरोप का ही है. तो यूरोप में कहां से आया वो मॉडल? प्रोटेस्टेंट से आया है. It is coming from Protestant, and therefore ये जो कैपिटलिज्म है, the capitalism is just one of the part of the larger process of rationalization. कैपिटलिज्म को स्टडी करना इतना इंपॉर्टेंट नहीं है जितना इंपॉर्टेंट था और है to study the process of rationalization. ठीक है. Capitalism was just one part of larger scheme of rationalization. And this larger scheme of rationalization is coming from the meanings, the values, the ethics of Protestants. Capitalism तो बस develop हो गया. Therefore, to study capitalism as a mode of production and to regard world as nothing but evolution of mode of production would be a very myopic study. The larger study should be the process of rationalization, because capitalism is nothing but a rationalized form of economy. Bureaucracy is nothing but rationalized form of laws. Modern education is nothing but rationalized form of education. Okay. The larger process is rationalization that we have to study according to Weber. Okay. So this was all about Max Weber. So अब करते हैं comparison. But before that, we also have to do criticism. Okay. So let us start with critique. Critique of Weber. Critique of Weber. First, we will start with the critique. And remember, what I'm going to tell you are not really the critique. Okay. They are simply misinterpretation of Weber. वो critique है ही नहीं कहीं से भी, but फिर भी हम उनको पढ़ते हैं कि उन्होंने कुछ बोला है वेबर के अगेंस्ट. ठीक है. For example, the first critique would be against Protestant ethics and spirit of capitalism. First critique is by a scholar called as R.H. Downey. R.H. Downey. He is actually an economic historian. Okay. Economic history पढ़ते हो ना आप लोग medieval modern में economic history. So he is a economic historian. Okay. What is he saying? He's saying that I can never be certain and I can never say that Protestantism led to rise of capitalism. Why? He believes that actually the spirit of capitalism was absorbed by Protestants. It is not that the spirit of or the work ethics of Protestant has given rise to spirit of capitalism. Rather, the spirit of capitalism has made them work efficiently. But then the question is, then where is this spirit of capitalism coming from? Okay. R.H. Downey says, origin of spirit of capitalism is not Protestant ethics. Rather, it is Reformation, Renaissance, and scientific revolution. Scientific revolution. Largely scientific revolution. He's talking about scientific revolution. Okay, Reformation, Renaissance, scientific revolution. All three. Reformation as a process. He's not highlighting only Protestants in the Reformation. Actually, he is highlighting the concept of rationality in the Reformation, because when Martin Luther challenged Catholic Church, it shows rational being, someone who can challenge church and not simply obey church because this is what has been done for so long. He was not performing traditional social action. He performed what do you call as formal rationality, fully conscious. Why should you guys act as intermediary between men and the God? Okay. And R.S. Downey therefore says that it is the spirit of rationality, which is giving rise to the spirit of capitalism. And the rationality is coming from Reformation. And other than rationality coming from Reformation, we have scientific revolution and Renaissance. Well, these are the things which have given rise to spirit of capitalism. Okay. This was R.S. Downey. Of course, he may sound critic, but he is not a critic. But the fact, see, why? Because Max Weber never said that. He never said that Protestant ethics is the reason behind rise of capitalism. He never said anything like this. I told you that he only drew adequate causal relation. That there is a probability Protestant ethics may have led. He is not being determinist. तो criticism का सवाल ज़्यादा है नहीं. Anyhow. Next scholar is Kurt Samuelson. Kurt Samuelson. हाँ इधर को बिठा दो. Guys, give me 3 minutes, okay? Just 3 minutes. Okay. So is it audible? ठीक है. Kurt Samuelson. Kurt Samuelson is saying very different thing. He is saying that we cannot really say that it was Protestant ethics that led to the rise of capitalism, or we cannot really say that it was having adequate features or there is probable relation between spirit of capitalism and Protestantism. Why? Because he says that I can see spirit of capitalism even in the countries where we did not have Protestants. This is what he is saying. He says spirit of capitalism was present even in countries which were not Protestant. Which were not Protestant. For example, Belgium. Okay. बेल्जियम की जो चॉकलेट्स जो इतनी फेमस है आज की डेट में, ठीक है, वो बहुत पहले से है. वो बोल रहा है कि बेल्जियम इज अ कैथोलिक कंट्री. ओके, यू गो टू बेल्जियम, इट इज लार्जली कैथोलिक कंट्री, प्रोटेस्टेंट्स वहां है ही नहीं इतने, बट स्टिल वी हैड स्पिरिट ऑफ कैपिटलिज्म इन बेल्जियम. Belgium, despite being a Catholic country, had spirit of capitalism. and there have been instances where we have Protestants but no capitalism. ऐसा भी है. एक इंस्टांस वो है जहां प्रोटेस्टेंट्स नहीं है तो भी कैपिटलिज्म है. एक वो इंस्टांस है जहां प्रोटेस्टेंट्स हैं तो भी कैपिटलिज्म नहीं. ठीक है. विच इज दैट इंस्टेंस? वी हैड प्रोटेस्टेंट्स इन Switzerland. Still capitalism developed over, but in very later stages. In later stages, in the sense, he's not saying कि है ही नहीं. He's saying that capitalism in Switzerland developed in very later stage. Very late. In the sense, Protestant है, लेकिन तो भी कैपिटलिज्म डेवलप हो नहीं रहा बड़े टाइम तक. It took them 100 more years to develop that spirit. So you cannot really say that there is adequate causality. You cannot really say that there is adequate causality. And also, see, we had Protestants in Switzerland, but still capitalism developed very late. At least 100 years ka gap. 100 years gap. Okay. See, now these are very subjective studies. Very subjective studies, but we simply have to quote these people, okay, because we cannot afford to read these people, because we simply have to read them as critique, so we cannot go into the deeper details क्योंकि ये लोग लिखते हैं मोटी मोटी किताबें. ठीक है. So I hope it is clear to you. And he also said that in biggest critique of Max Weber should be him not being objective only, because when everything is a probability where there is a question of critique, also my doubt it can his thesis be considered as scientific, because when someone is not objective, is there a scope of falsifiability? किसने पूछा है ये? प्रशांत राव. I'll come to your question, प्रशांत. अभी आता हूं, रुको, पहले क्रिटिक कर लें इसका. Also, he's saying one more thing, Kurt Samuelson. He says in Netherlands, okay, in Netherlands, capitalism had developed even before Protestants. To him, Netherlands was a Catholic country, not Protestant. To him, Netherlands is not Protestant country, it is Catholic country, and still we had capitalism. So we cannot say that it is Protestant having adequate relation with capitalism. It is again Catholics only having adequate relation with capitalism. Okay, but again it matters. It depends on what kind of ideal type they have drawn of Catholicism. The ideal type that Max Weber had drawn of Catholicism and the ideal type that Kurt Samuelson had drawn of Catholicism are very different, and here comes the role of values as well. Okay, as you know that Max Weber was a Protestant himself. Okay, his mother being Calvinist. Calvinism is nothing but a variant of Protestant only. Okay, तो यहाँ रोल आता है वैल्यूज का. तो वो ऑब्जेक्टिविटी तो बिल्कुल नहीं है जैसे नेचुरल साइंस में होती है, बट स्टिल ही इज ऑब्जेक्टिव. आई टेल यू व्हाई, नॉट वाओ. ठीक है, आते हैं अब नेक्स्ट क्रिटिक पे. दिस क्रिटिक इज वेरी इंटरेस्टिंग. रेनहार्ड बेंडिक्स. He is also very important scholar. ये अभी तुम्हें आगे पता चलेगा. Very important scholar, Reinhard Bendix. मुकेश कुमार. कैल्विनिज्म कुछ नहीं है, वेरिएंट ऑफ बाप. ये समझो कैल्विनिज्म प्रोटेस्टेंटिज्म एक ही है, हमें इतना ही समझना है. कैल्विनिज्म प्रोटेस्टेंटिज्म वन एंड द सेम थिंग. प्यूरिटनिज्म, कैल्विनिज्म, प्रोटेस्टेंटिज्म, ऑल थ्री आर वन एंड द सेम, बस नाम अलग है. आप ये समझो बस. ठीक है. Reinhard Bendix. he has made very interesting observation. इसका मेरे को काफी अच्छा लगता है ऑब्जर्वेशन. ये बोल रहा है कि if you look into Japan was a loser in World War II. जापान lost World War II. बट वो जो लॉस हुआ ना जापान का वर्ल्ड वॉर टू में, the loss that Japan faced in World War II, that actually evoked such a great spirit of nationalism in those people, such a great spirit of patriotism in those people, that they continuously worked hard, relentlessly, unyieldingly, incessantly, and this actually led to the rise of Japanese capitalism. वो जो लॉस, जो यूएस से जो हारे थे वो लोग, उस हार ने उनको एक साथ यूनाइट कर दिया. आप ऐसे समझो, जब आप हारते हो किसी दुश्मन से, आपकी यूनिटी कितनी स्ट्रांग हो जाएगी उसको मारने के लिए. वो जापान के साथ हुआ था व्हेन इट फेस लॉस इन वर्ल्ड वॉर टू अगेंस्ट यूएस. और वो जो स्पिरिट जो नेशनलिज्म की थी उनके अंदर, उसी स्पिरिट ने कैपिटलिज्म को पैदा किया. The same spirit led to the rise of capitalism in Japan, and that is why जापान का जो इलेक्ट्रॉनिक्स है सबसे यूनिक है पूरे वर्ल्ड में. उस चीज में जापान को कोई बीट नहीं कर पाया आज तक. इट वाज ओनली बिकॉज ऑफ द लॉस इन वर्ल्ड वॉर टू इन द हैंड्स ऑफ अमेरिका. तो कैपिटलिज्म उधर भी था विदाउट प्रोटेस्टेंटिज्म. एंड हु वर जापानीज? जापानीज वर बुद्धिस्ट. And that this shows that Buddhism can be practiced in private sphere. घर पे you are Buddhist. The moment you go out in the industry, you become hard-working individual, a Japanese nationalist who will do anything for the rise of productivity or the wealth of the nation. So, to say that Protestantism leading to capitalism or having adequate relation with capitalism is not so right, according to Reinhard Bendix. Okay, so Reinhard Bendix is saying Japanese nationalism despite Japanese being Buddhist led to rise of Japanese capitalism. Okay, and if you I'll talk about Japanese capitalism in a chapter called as Work and Economy. There you will get to know different variants of capitalism in different nations as well. जापान का कैपिटलिज्म बड़ा अलग है. You know, they have the concept of job rotation. In the sense, if you are worker in Japan, next day you will be manager. Next day, आज आप सिंपल एक क्लर्क की तरह ज्वाइन किए हो, अगले दिन आप मैनेजर बन जाते हो. I'm not saying right next day you become manager, but they practice job rotation in the sense, you are manager today, tomorrow you can be clerk. You are clerk today, you will be manager. The manager will for few days become CEO. CEO will also be manager. So it is rotation, job rotation. Everybody is becoming everything. Unlike traditional capitalist enterprises where you are manager, you are clerk, there is no such compartmentalization or division, strict division in Japan. And therefore there is no scope for alienation. Alienation होएगा भी नहीं वहां पर जापान में. इसलिए इतने हार्ड वर्किंग लोग हैं. छोटे से हैं ये, छोटे से, बहुत छोटे से हैं, ठीक है. और पानी आता है चले जाते हैं ये लोग. उसके बाद भी जैसे ही सूखा पड़ता है फिर से काम शुरू कर देते हैं. इस ऐसी स्पिरिट है इनकी. बट दे हैव हाई सुसाइड रेट. अरे वो सब छोड़ो, हाई सुसाइड रेट. ये सुसाइड मैंने सुना है, बड़ा इंटरेस्टिंग लगता है लोगों को. सुसाइड रेट तो देखो ऐसा है ना, व्हाई जापान हैज हाई सुसाइड रेट? बिकॉज इफ यू लुक इनटू डेमोग्राफी ऑफ जापान, दे हैव मैक्सिमम एजेड पीपल. उनका ना बल्ज हो रहा है ऊपर की साइड में, ऊपर की साइड में बल्ज निकल रहा है. ओके, एजिंग बहुत रैपिडली हो रही है वहां पे. They lack a dividend, the dividend that we celebrate here in India. We have maximum youth and or young population, but they have maximum aged population. And when you have maximum aged population, what is going to happen with the elderly? Elderly lose and they do not feel integrated with the youngs. And when they do not feel integrated, obviously they will have high suicide rate. Okay. Anyhow, let me also talk about Milton Singer. Milton Singer. Milton Singer. Milton Singer has studied Madras, India. Okay. Madras की स्टडी है इसकी. Conducted a study in Madras. India. In Madras, he found a process called as compartmentalization. Okay, एक process है. A process called as compartmentalization. What is compartmentalization? Compartmentalization means your private sphere is different, the public sphere is different. In the sense, at home you are religious completely. But the moment you go to factory, you are no longer religious. You are only concerned about wealth. So you cannot say that now you are concerned about wealth, so your religiosity is over, secularization हो गया. ऐसा नहीं है. Again he becomes religious when he gets back to home. मद्रास में if you guys know, साउथ इंडिया में जितने टेम्पल्स हैं उतने पूरे वर्ल्ड में नहीं है. ठीक है. मैक्सिमम टेम्पल्स वी हैव इन साउथ इंडिया. Okay, after every 100 meters you will see a temple. This shows that religiosity can exist despite capitalism. What Max Weber says, कि कैपिटलिज्म आ गया है, religiosity खत्म हो गई है, money has now become end in itself. But no, Milton Singer is saying they are concerned with money at office. They come back home, they become religious again. So you cannot say that भूल गए भगवान को. Understood? In simple line, the meaning of compartmentalizing, compartments में है. They lead life in two compartments. One is public life, one is private life. In private life, they are religious. In public life, they are concerned about profit or wealth. Or rather, you can say like this: in public life, in private life, they are religious, and in public life, they are businessmen. Simple. That means this is not opposite to this. This is just different from this. Understood or not? ठीक. So this was all. बाकी आप देख लेना हैंडआउट्स में. ओके. आई डोंट वांट टू एक्सप्लेन एवरीथिंग. सब हैंडआउट्स में आपको मिल जाएगा बाद में. This I am explaining so that reading handout becomes easier for you, nothing else. So also some things may not be there in handouts as well. Okay, कभी कभी ऐसा भी होता है, मैं कुछ बताता हूँ handouts में शायद ना हो, कुछ सिर्फ यही होगा. Okay, now let us do critique of bureaucracy. Very interesting critique. Critique of bureaucracy. Critique of bureaucracy. And as you know that when I am saying critique, again it is not really a critique. Okay, क्योंकि whatever the critics are saying has already been said by Max Weber. Okay, so critique is not saying something very unique, not telling something very unique. Sir, isn't Protestant similar to Buddhist who rose against Indian Catholicism? यही तो मैंने बताया था. This is what I told in the last class, na? But the values of Buddhism are not similar to values of Protestantism. Both of them came in reaction to larger religion, Catholicism and Buddhism and Hinduism. But values तो different है दोनों की. Okay. बहुत different values हैं दोनों की. Buddhism, if you look into, do you know what is, to Lord Buddha, what is the source of suffering in this world? The source of suffering is material. Material. जो हमें लालच होती है, लालच हो जो हमें होता है, जो और पैसा बन जाए, ठीक है, 1 करोड़ आ गया तो भी चाहिए यार 1 करोड़ और आ जाए थोड़ा सा. This is the source of suffering. And to Protestant, it is not a source of suffering. To Protestant, it is a sign that they are going to go to heaven. The more wealth they generate. कितना डिफरेंस है दोनों के वैल्यूज में. एक के लिए सफरिंग का सोर्स है, दूसरे के लिए हेवन जाने का सोर्स. क्या बात है. Okay, so critique of bureaucracy. First critique that we are going to study is Robert Merton. Robert Merton. Okay, Robert Merton. He is talking about dysfunctions of bureaucracy. Dysfunctions of bureaucracy. First, rules become end in itself. First critique. Rules become end in itself. What is the meaning of this? Why bureaucracies, organizations, bureaucracy does not mean only public or government office, even in private sector we have bureaucracy. Why do we have bureaucracy? To ensure efficiency and to help the clientele efficiently ताकि काम करें और client को help करें. But the rules that are made for the efficiency of bureaucracy, जब वो rules ही अपने आप में end बन जाते हैं, so it will automatically lead to the larger displacement of the goal for which the bureaucracy was made. Bureaucracy was made to serve people. To serve people, you have made rules, but now you are concerned more about rules. Rule bound हो गए हो. नहीं, अभी देखो, according to rule number 376, we cannot do this. अरे भाई, तुम्हारा काम था, रूल जो तुमने बनाए थे लोगों की हेल्प के लिए बनाए थे. But these rules are now acting as obstruction. What we call as red tapeism. Okay, what is red tapeism? जो फाइल्स होती हैं उस पे रेड लाल रंग की टेप, पुराने कॉलोनियल टाइम से जो चला आ रहा है एक ट्रेंड, लाल रंग की टेप होती है फाइलों फोल्डर्स में ब्यूरोक्रेट्स के. ओके, फाइल में जाने का मतलब काम तुम्हारा डिले हो गया. ओके, क्योंकि एक प्रोसेस के थ्रू जाएंगी वो फाइल्स. पहले एक सीनियर के पास जाएगी, वो देखेगा उसको, ठीक है, फिर वो चाय समोसे पकौड़े मंगवाएगा, 10 गिलास चाय पिएगा, ठीक है, उसके बाद छुट्टियां भी लेगा 5-6, तब जाके फिर आगे कहीं फाइल जाएगी, ठीक है, उसके बाद कहीं सोचेंगे कितना करप्शन करना है, ठीक है, और तब जाके फिर ये बेसिकली रूल्स जो हैं दे बिकम एंड इन इटसेल्फ। सेकंड, सेकंड there is no scope for improvisation. No scope for improvisation. Improvisation. That means once the rules are made, it will take at least one long era for reforms in those rules. Improvisation का scope ही नहीं. If you suggest any sort of change to UPSC will take at least 50-60 years. कमिटीज बनेगी उसके ऊपर, पहले कमिटियां बनाओ, वो कमिटियों के खर्चे उठाओ, चाय समोसे ब्रेड पकौड़े के उनके, ठीक है, सब उनका पहले उनको एसी के रूम दिलाओ, गाड़ियां दिलाओ ताकि घूमे यहाँ वहां, पहले पूरे वर्ल्ड का उनको टूर कराओ ताकि पूरे वर्ल्ड के ब्यूरोक्रेसी को वो समझें उनकी एफिशिएंट कैसी हुई, फ्रांस की, जर्मनी की। उसके बाद फिर वो एक जगह मिलेंगे एक दिन, कभी जब टाइम सबको एक साथ मैच कर रहा होगा, फिर आएंगे यूपीएससी की बिल्डिंग में, देन दे विल थिंक हाँ क्या करना है अब। ये करने में कम से कम 50 साल जाएंगे, ठीक है, तब तक वो आधे लोग मर भी जाएंगे उस कमेटी के, फिर न्यू मेंबर्स अपॉइंट होंगे, कमेटी डिले हो गई, जो रिपोर्ट आनी थी वो थोड़ा डिले हो गया है, बताएंगे नहीं क्यों, ठीक है। तो ये जो चक्कर है, बेसिकली देयर इज नो स्कोप फॉर इम्प्रोवाइजेशन। दिस इज व्हाट रॉबर्ट मर्टन इज सेइंग, ओके। थर्ड, impersonality. Impersonality. I-M. Impersonality in the procedures may lead to impersonality in procedures may lead to friction between public officials and the public. ओके, पब्लिक ऑफिशियल्स एंड द पब्लिक, क्यों? क्लाइंट्स जो होते हैं, they expect certain sort of empathy from the bureaucrats, but bureaucrats are involved in being highly formal, rational, cold calculations. This is what Max Weber call it as cold calculation. That means calculations which lack empathy or feelings for human. All the feelings are for rules. Okay, जितना आपकी नजदीकियां रूल से होंगी, उतनी नजदीकियां आपकी लोगों से नहीं होंगी, ठीक है। And this is what you will be trained for. This is what Robert Merton is saying. Impersonality may cause friction between public officials and the public. So this was one critique, the critique of bureaucracy by Robert Merton. Okay. Next. Now the fact is this really a critique? वेबर तो ऐसा बोल चुका है, वेबर हैज ऑलरेडी, हाँ तभी तो मैंने बोला ना नूतन, तभी तो मैंने बोला, that is why I always say that Marx, Weber, Durkheim are classical scholars. Nobody can criticize them because they have said everything, ठीक है। Still, why Weber is critiqued? When people know that he has made an ideal type, a model, he is not talking about the bureaucracy, he is only talking about a representation of bureaucracy, certain features which can help make bureaucracy efficient. Okay. And more so when he himself was very ambivalent. He himself said that, if you guys do not know, I'll also let you know that he was having two opinions on bureaucracy. One opinion, of course, was that these features have helped bureaucracy become efficient. And second opinion was that these features only which have made bureaucracy efficient will make bureaucracy inefficient. The same features which are going to make bureaucracy efficient will make it inefficient. This is what he said. Okay. And when Marx says that we will have a better world in the name of socialism, where we will have dictatorship of the workers, Weber says the more you advance, the more society gets rationalized, the more society gets bureaucratized, the more it is the rule of rules. The rules are ruling. Okay. Humans would not be ruling, it is the rules which are going to rule. And this is what he called as not dictatorship of the workers, he called it as dictatorship of the officials. Max Weber. Okay. Officials की dictatorship होगी, not of the workers. Anyhow, next चलते हैं जो critique है. Yes. Michael Crozier. Michael Crozier. First, he says bureaucracy refuses to learn from its own mistakes. Bureaucracy refuses to learn from its own mistake. Refuses to learn from its own mistakes. Okay. In the sense, it is rule bound and it is not changing it. Okay. Refuses to learn from its own mistakes. Because the rules, the hierarchy, the chain of command, these are the things which delay the projects. एक सिंपल सा हाईवे बनवाना है, उस हाईवे बनने में 5 साल लगने थे. प्लान ये था, द प्लान वाज टू मेक हाईवे विद इन 5 years. But what was the outcome? The highway took 50 years. Okay. And the expenditure, of course, would have increased now. जितना इन्वेस्टमेंट लगना था $1 million का, अब लग रहा है $1 billion का. M की जगह B हो गया, मिलियन का बिलियन हो गया 50 साल में. ब्यूरोक्रेसी रिफ्यूजेस टू लर्न फ्रॉम इट्स ओन. ये और ये हर साल होता है, ऐसा नहीं कि. तो यानी रिफ्यूजिंग टू लर्न फ्रॉम इट्स मिस्टेक्स. अब डिजिटल इंडिया हो गया है. टुडे वी हैव डिजिटल इंडिया, एंड बीइंग डिजिटल वी आर एक्चुअली ट्राइंग टू बी मोर एफिशिएंट, and we are actually trying to cut all the intermediaries that fall between people and the officials. Middlemen cut हो जाएंगे, expenditure खत्म हो जाएगा. Okay. And we have many schemes also which are going to transfer the amount, beneficiary amount, directly into the account of beneficiary. There will be no middlemen. Welfare schemes का भी पैसा हमारा बचेगा जो कि ड्रेन हो जाता है रास्ते में. Okay. So we have so many things also. We can counter these people as well. इसमें कोई बड़ी बात नहीं है. Okay, but first we have to understand what these people are saying. Second, he says everybody's responsibility is no one's responsibility. Everybody's responsibility is no one's responsibility. Okay. What he is trying to say is that you go to office, okay, and you meet someone to get your work done, whatever that work may be. That person will say, आप इनसे बात करिए, ये देखते हैं, ठीक है। आप उसके पास जाओगे, आप उनसे बात करिए, वो ज्यादा अच्छा आपको बताएंगे, ये डिपार्टमेंट उनका है। ऐसे कर करके, क्योंकि सी कोई रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी नहीं लेता। आई डोंट नो हाउ मेनी ऑफ यू हैव सीन दैट टेलीविजन शो, वेरी पॉपुलर शो, ऑफिस। ऑफिस पहले आता था, अब तो नहीं आता है, ठीक है। उसमें यही था, एवरीबडीज रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी इज नो वंस रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी। वो ऑफिस ऑफिस बेसिकली ब्यूरोक्रेसी को ही रिप्रेजेंट कर रहा था कि क्या होता है ब्यूरोक्रेसी में। ओके, एनीहाउ, एंड थर्ड इंपॉर्टेंट पॉइंट दैट ही इज मेकिंग इज दैट most of the time bureaucracy is engaged in dealing with its own problems. Bureaucracy is engaged in dealing with its own problems, and therefore it does not get time for the public welfare. Therefore it does not get time for the public welfare. ब्यूरोक्रेसी के अपनी प्रॉब्लम्स चलते रहते हैं, ओके। They have their own set of issues. For example, just 1 month back, there was a dispute between two lady IAS officers in Mysore. Okay. And both are very famous. One is that Sundari madam. Okay, जिनके नोट्स बड़े पॉपुलर हुए थे कभी सोशियोलॉजी के। ओके, इनके आपस के झगड़े नहीं खत्म होते हैं। सीनियरिटी प्रिंसिपल, उसका प्रमोशन हो गया, उसका नहीं हुआ, किसकी फाइल पेंडिंग है, किसका रिव्यू पेंडिंग है, किसका ACR जाएगा, क्या नहीं, आपस में ही इनके अंदर ही अंदर सिस्टम के अंदर बहुत इश्यूज हैं, तो टाइम नहीं मिलता है पब्लिक इश्यूज को हैंडल करने के लिए। ओके, करप्शन, अपॉइंटमेंट इश्यूज, अपॉइंटमेंट ऑफ रॉन्ग पर्सन, ओवरराइडिंग सीनियरिटी प्रिंसिपल, बहुत सारे इश्यूज होते हैं विद इन ब्यूरोक्रेसी। ओके, सो दिस वाज अ क्रिटिक ऑफ, not again, it is not really a critique. Okay, acha, one is very important person, very his study is very interesting. This man is Elvin Goldner. If you remember, he is the same person who has given reflexive sociology idea. Okay, what did Elvin Goldner say on Weber's model of bureaucracy? Goldner says, ek din, one day, I went to America. Okay, and I conducted a field study amongst the mining workers, gypsum plant mining workers. Okay, and in that study I found those people were doing their work with full sincerity, discipline, punctuality, everything was there, until one fine day a manager was appointed to overlook them. जब तक कोई मैनेजर उनको देख नहीं रहा था कि कैसा काम करते हैं, तब तक they were happily doing everything. Okay, just think like that, 10 people have been sent to a vocation, okay, and to conduct any kind of work. Okay, so they will do happily, full freedom में कर रहे हैं, efficiently कर देंगे. The moment you appoint someone to monitor them, उनका दिमाग खराब हो जाता है. Okay, so those gypsum people, mine plant workers, what happened, the moment manager was appointed to monitor them, their efficiency got reduced. So you cannot say that bureaucracy ensures efficiency. Rather, bureaucracy can also decrease efficiency. भाई एक बात बताओ, Why does it happen that we do not study at home, and why do we have to come to Delhi? Okay, I'm not saying we study at home, definitely we do study, okay, but think about those people who are not comfortable in studying at home. They want to come to Delhi, और अच्छा दिल्ली आके भी फिर वो लाइब्रेरी में जाएंगे, अपने यहाँ इधर रूम पे भी नहीं रुकेंगे, ठीक है, because they believe that lesser the monitoring, ओके, घर पे जब कोई ना हो, मैं फुल फ्रीडम से अपने हिसाब से कर रहा हूं, पढ़ रहा हूं, तब मेरी एफिशिएंसी ज्यादा आएगी. घर पे क्या है, मम्मी होंगे, पापा होंगे, कुछ काम होएगा, वो कुछ ना कुछ बोलेंगे, ठीक है, मैं पढ़ नहीं पाऊंगा, मैं आई विल नॉट बी फोकस्ड. बट यहाँ आके उनको लगता है एफिशिएंसी बढ़ेगी. अब सपोज करो यू आर स्टडीइंग वन फाइन डे इन दिल्ली इन पीजी, एक दिन सरप्राइज आ गए मम्मी पापा देने, ठीक है, उस दिन पढ़ोगे ही नहीं तुम. So if you appoint managers to monitor someone, they will not be efficient. This is what Alvin Goldner is saying. Okay. And the last critique, one more critique, he's also very important. In fact, not just one more, I'll talk about two critiques. Both of them are equally important, I would say. Okay. One is Jerry Pournelle. Jerry Pournelle. Jerry Pournelle. Okay. Jerry Pournelle has given one law. ओके, लॉ सिर्फ ये कहने का लॉ है जैसे इनका होता है, इट्स नॉट रियली अ लॉ. आयरन लॉ ऑफ ब्यूरोक्रेसी. आयरन लॉ ऑफ ब्यूरोक्रेसी. नाउ व्हाट इज द आयरन लॉ ऑफ ब्यूरोक्रेसी? ये बोल रहा है, वेरी प्रैक्टिकल थिंग ही इज एक्चुअली टॉकिंग अबाउट. He says that you go to any organization, you will meet two kinds of people. Okay. One are those people who are working for the organization with full dedication. Okay. And second are those people who are working in the name of organization. थोड़ा बारीक सा डिफरेंस है, बताता हूं मैं. वन वर्किंग फॉर ऑर्गेनाइजेशन, second working in the name of organization. What are these second people? You first wala you understand very well. Second are those people, you know, who would boast about the work that they do at the organization, and they would present themselves as the one who has maximum contact in the organization. अरे तुम्हें जो काम करवाना मेरे से बोलो, अपनी चलती उधर पूरी, ठीक है. और ये वो लोग हैं जो काम बिल्कुल नहीं करते. सबसे कम काम करने वाले ये वो लोग हैं, ठीक है. Every time they would boast about themselves, and they would say that, you know, I have done this to the organization, this for the organization, that for the organization. Okay, मेरी चलती है, सारे अपने सीनियर्स अपने भाई हैं, कुछ काम हो बताना, ठीक है. अब ये जो लोग हैं ना, unfortunately, Jerry Pournelle says these people become more visible. And these people who are efficient and working hard, they become invisible. ये होता है कि नहीं होता है? The people who work hard, who are dedicated, वो गायब हो जाते हैं. The people जो बस बकवास करते हैं, वो visible रहते हैं ज्यादा. Right? And bureaucracy rewards visibility. And that is why you will see these people climbing ladder like anything, and these dedicated hardworking people ये वहीं रह जाते हैं. So bureaucracy do not reward efficiency. Efficient people are the first ones. Bureaucracy rewards visibility. This is what Jerry Pournelle, and this is the iron law of bureaucracy. Okay. Bureaucracy rewards visibility, not efficiency. Okay. So this is sometimes happens also. Okay, I don't want to give examples अभी वो वाले क्योंकि वो आगे जाके मैं बताऊंगा उन सब चीज के बारे में. And rest of the things I think you can do easily all by yourself. You now know enough of these scholars and these things all by yourself. Okay. So let me now simply tell you a critique of the last critique that we are doing is critique of Fechtian. Critique of Fechtian. Acha, one more thing. See, let me ask you a very simple question. We have bureaucracy in level up. We have bureaucracy even in Delhi University. Both are bureaucracy, but both are different, right? Now the question is, which of these will be more efficient? What do you think? And be honest. Delhi University is more efficient or level up do you think is more efficient? Level up. Okay. नहीं, not because level up small scale पे चल रहा है, इसलिए नहीं. See, there are two kinds of models in bureaucracy which you will read in the handouts. मैंने handouts में दे दिए, वो आप पढ़ लेना. One is mechanical, one is organic model. The model of bureaucracy in Delhi University is highly mechanical, rigid, hierarchical, command based. The same Weber, pure Weber वाला जो model है, that is operating in Delhi University. But the model that we have in private sectors, not in all the private sector, but in few, we have organic model. In the sense, we do not take decision from top. Okay, this is what happens in bureaucracy, top down approach. Okay, they give you order, you follow. But in organic bureaucracies, what happens is we do not give directives or we do not give command like this. Rather, we participate in decision making. For example, I would take your opinion. Can I take 1:30 PM का class? एक decision making रहता है organic model में. Will you be available? ऐसा दिल्ली यूनिवर्सिटी में do you think vice chancellor is going to ask the students will you be available during September? हम एग्जाम कर लें तब सीधा आएगा सितंबर को एग्जाम है, बीमार हो गए अगले साल देना. But here we will, whatever decisions we are going to take, that will be participative, and this brings in more efficiency. Okay, and that is why that fails to deliver. Delhi University fails to deliver. अभी तक डिग्री नहीं आई एमए वालों की 2018 के बैच की, 2021 चल रहा है. ठीक है. So, अच्छा हाँ सॉरी, मैं I was talking about critique of Fechtian. See, Weber says, Fechtian में Weber क्या बोलता है? That it is empathetic understanding. अच्छा, understand what? Understand social action. ठीक. कैसे? Understand social action in the historical context. कैसे क्या? ठीक. This is what I told you. Any action that is meaningful, oriented to other actor, and is performed in a certain historical context, that is social action. The question is, how are you going to interpret? Weber was Protestant, that is why he could interpret that to them work is a religious experience. A tribal person cannot be interpreting Protestants' work like this, that it is a spiritual experience to them. For a tribal person, spiritual experience is something else. उसके पास ये दिमाग बिल्कुल नहीं हो सकता. You know, you are working in a factory continuously, ठीक है, and suddenly, suppose, just think like this, the things that we take for granted in our everyday life, you are working, you are doing your duty, and then suddenly I plant a person from Andaman Nicobar to see you, what you are doing. Do you really think that person from Andaman or Nicobarese island would be able to interpret what you are doing? पहली बात तो उसको यही नहीं पता होगा ये वर्क है, because he is not from industrial society, he has been living in tribal society since forever. Secondly, ये सोचना कि ये वर्शिप का वो तरीका है, तो दूर की बात. He can never think that it is the way of spiritual experience. Because to the tribal people, what is spiritual experience? The worship of natural forces, fire, air, earth. These are spiritual experiences. Forest. Okay, animism, they call it animism. They find spirits in natural forces, naturism, animism. This is not religion to them. And therefore, when Weber tells me empathetically understand social action in a historical context, the problem is the crisis of representation. First problem, crisis of representation. Okay, who is going to understand social action? And how is he going to maintain value neutrality? And how he can be objective in a fashion that you really expect him to be? These are very subjective things. Okay, to put yourself into the shoes of other person and to think of what he is doing by taking into consideration the history of that person, it is not an easy task. ये कहने में जितना आसान है उतना ही मुश्किल है. ऐसा होता ही नहीं है. Okay. So this is the crisis of representation. Secondly, intersubjectivity. Very important. Who coined this word? Who will tell me? Let us see. Who talked about this word? Very good. Alfred Schutz. Now, remember, Alfred Schutz. दिमाग में थोड़ा कंफ्यूजन भी तो रहा होगा कभी कि फिनोमेनोलॉजी और इसमें क्या फर्क है सोशल एक्शन में. ठीक है. Alfred Schutz is highly impressed with Max Weber. Okay. But Alfred Schutz is also critiquing Max Weber. He is also criticized Max Weber. Okay. So see, Schutz say, I am highly thankful to Max Weber. Because of him only, because of Max Weber only, we have started studying individual actors and the meaning of the act, meaning of the action. Okay. So therefore, Weber is indispensable for the rise of phenomenology. Phenomenology. What was phenomenology? There is nothing objective in the social world. These are web of meanings. What is pen to you? This is a pen. To someone else, this may be a stick. Okay. This may be earbud. I mean, it is pen to you, okay. It may be something else to someone else. A chair is not just a chair. Chair can also act as a defense shield. जैसे चेयर को जब आप पलटाओ तो जो उसके लेग्स होते हैं they look exactly like a defense shield. Okay, so a tribal may use the chair not to sit on it. He does not know that it is meant for sitting. He has never seen anything like that. He may use it as a defense. So what is objective? If there is nothing objective in social world, can we ever formulate laws? We can never formulate laws. And Alfred Schutz saying that there is so much of intersubjectivity. Intersubject. What is A to you, that may be B to someone else. What is A to you, to someone else, it may be C. To someone else, it may be D. For example, capitalism is different to Marx, is different to Weber, is different to Adam Smith, different to Durkheim. Chair, different to someone, different to red. If I say red, red may imply different meanings to different people. If I say this, if I do anything like this, thumbs up may imply different things to different people from different cultures. In Russia, it is giving very different and very vulgar meaning. Okay. In India, it is giving something else. In America, something else. Japan, something else. Okay. So there is no objective meaning. Since there is intersubjectivity, that means reality is highly subjective from one individual to another individual. This is what the meaning of intersubjectivity is. Reality highly subjective from one person to another. Since reality is highly subjective from one person to another, how would you ever understand social action? Your understanding of social action would be different from someone else's understanding of social action, would be different from someone else's understanding of social action. Okay. But at the same time, he was very happy that someone tried to study individuals, because people before Max Weber were studying only structures. Nobody were talking about individuals. Okay. And from here comes phenomenology. Because now Alfred Schutz is very much interested in studying these different intersubjective meanings. इसलिए और डीप जा रहा है वो, और डीप. फिर वहां से और डीप जाता है गार्फिंकल एक्सपेरिमेंटल मोड पे. ठीक है. एंड उसके बाद one day I'll talk about postmodernism, which is another philosophy, which is an extension of phenomenology only. Postmodern people say nothing is objective in this world. Every theories are also highly fluid and not so applicable. Marxism has failed. Science does not exist. Science is also completely subjective in the name of objectivity. They are doing nothing but falsifying their own claims, again coming up with another claim. There is no objective truth even in science. Science claims itself and projects itself as a grand narrative, but there is no narrative, there is no Marxism, there is no science, there is no functionalism. Nothing exists in this world. This is what postmodernist people are like. Okay, grand extension of phenomenology, but उसके बाद में बात फिर कभी करेंगे, अभी नहीं. So this was all about Max Weber. Now we will do a comparison of Marx, Weber and Durkheim with a small break. Okay, 2 minutes break, and then we start with comparison. We'll finish comparison within 20 minutes. Comparison of Marx, Weber. In fact, let me put it like this. Comparison of, I would say, WMD, Weber, Marx. Okay, WMD is also weapons of mass destruction. और ये किसी वेपन से कम नहीं है. ओके, चलो, see you in 2 minutes. Okay, so audible? ठीक. Now, very important. One by one, let us make a comparison. Okay. So after this class, I would not expect any sort of confusion at your end regarding these three. Okay. Durkheim, Marx, वेबर. ठीक है, टेबल में कर रहा हूं मैं, और यहां पे हम रखते हैं कुछ ऐसे एलिमेंट्स जिसका हम कंपैरिजन करेंगे. First, let us locate them in the paradigm. If you remember, I taught you unit 2, I talked about paradigms. Paradigms are a set of beliefs. Some are dominant. In natural science, we have dominant paradigm. In the sense, now what Einstein has said has become the dominant paradigm. Okay. Tomorrow it may be replaced by some new paradigm, but today we have a dominant paradigm. So if you want to explain gravitation, of course you have to take help of Einsteinian physics, not Newtonian physics. Newtonian physics is outdated now. So you cannot explain gravitation through Newton. You have to explain gravitation through Einstein. Okay. So that means in science we have dominant paradigms. But today in social science there is no dominant paradigm. For example, they have Newton, Einstein, Copernicus, so many other scholars, okay, Bose, all those many people. Okay. The fact is, in social science, no one is superior. You cannot say Marx is superior to Weber, or Weber is superior to Durkheim, or Durkheim is superior to Merton, or Merton superior to Talcott Parson, or Jürgen Habermas, Adorno, or Kheimer. Okay, there are so many scholars, and you cannot claim anyone to be superior to any other because all of them have looked at the phenomena through a perspective. Capitalism, when Marx talks about capitalism, it is a perspective that he is showing. That is not the objective reality. If it was really so, exploitative capitalism would have been over by now. Okay, that is just a perspective. So therefore, first thing that we have to talk about is paradigm. When I talk about Durkheim, what is the paradigm of Durkheim? Structural functional. Okay, that is the theory. Now, is structural functionalism dominant paradigm in sociology? No, we cannot say anything like this. Structural functionalism. Okay. Structural functionalism is the paradigm, or we can also call it under positivism only. We have structural functionalism, right? And what is positivism? Simply telling you for the last time what is positivism. Okay. Water. Whether water is in India or whether water is in America, water is H2O only, right? Water is water, right? General law. So if water is water, everywhere you have H2O making up water. So therefore, you can theorize as to how water gets developed. Simple. Okay. Everywhere we have water only, and water having composition H2O. But water in India may be similar to water in America in terms of chemical composition, but Indian is not similar to American. If man are not similar, how can you theorize? But they believed individuals are similar. This is what positivism is. Every individual is just like matter. यही तो मैंने बोला है, मैटर और इंडिविजुअल में कोई डिफरेंस नहीं है. इंडिविजुअल सिंपली रिएक्ट टू स्ट्रक्चर्स. Individuals are like apples, apple falling in reaction to law of gravitation, individuals marrying in response to the need of society. मैरिज वो अपनी चॉइस, वो उनकी चॉइस छोड़ना है, शादी करनी पड़ेगी, तुम्हारे हाथ में छोड़ना है, ठीक है, करनी ही पड़ेगी, क्योंकि नीड, सोसाइटी की नीड ज्यादा बड़ी है तुमसे बड़ी, तुम्हारे मूड पे नहीं चलेगी सोसाइटी. ओके, सो पॉजिटिविज्म में भी स्पेसिफिकली ही वाज स्ट्रक्चरल फंक्शनलिस्ट. Marx was also positivist. He also discovered laws of society, but the paradigm that he belongs to is known as conflict paradigm. Why conflict paradigm? Or you can also call it Marxism. Why conflict paradigm? Because he does not see society, or he does not see institutions working for functioning of society. He see institutions working for a class, and he do not see society as such. He see only two opposing groups: one bourgeoisie, second proletariat; one masters, second slaves; one lord, second serfs. This has been the trajectory of history, and this is what the picture of society is: one class oppressing another class with the help of institutions. So therefore, he looks at conflict only between two groups. Durkheim does not look at conflict. He largely looks at functioning of society, how institutions helping to maintain society. Okay. Weber, on the other hand, what is the paradigm of Weber? Of course, Weber is not positivist. Of course, Weber is not positivist. Okay. So what is Weber? Weber belongs to a paradigm called as interaction, which is also called as interactionism. It is also known as interpretativism. Interpretativism. Because the subject matter of sociology to him is the study of social action. Action. He is largely studying action of individuals. He is not talking about conflict. Of course, he does talk about conflict later on. You will get to know when I'll teach you social stratification. But to him, largely the subject matter is social action. Okay. To Durkheim's subject matter of sociology is social fact. Okay. The next thing that I'm going to talk about, interactionism or interpretativism, means nothing but paradigm being here, the belief being here, study of individual meanings, motives. Okay. He's not talking about structures. He does talk about structure later on, which I'll discuss here. Okay. Next. Sociological tradition. This is important. Sociological tradition. We call Durkheim belonging to macro tradition, because talking about structures. Okay. Structures constraining individuals, coercive of individuals, family social fact, religion social fact constrains us. Okay. Marx, again, macro. Larger structures, again, regulating individuals, society following laws. Okay, macro. Weber belongs to, initially he started with micro, and then, as you know, he went on to discuss macro as well. Right or wrong? Started with micro, social action, and then studied structures, and then he is saying macro regulating micro. The same macro which is the making of micro, the structures making of social action, the same structure are now regulating individuals. So what is it? What is it? It is known as, remember this, it is known as substantive sociology. Substantive sociology, because it is the integration of micro macro. that Weber sees. That means Weber is highly comprehensive. He is not talking only macro or only micro, he is looking at both. That is a substantive sociology. Okay. Micro forming macro, and this macro then regulating micro. And then we have methodology. Okay. What is the methodology that they have used to conduct studies in social sciences? Methodology used by Durkheim is, as you know, is positivist methodology, right? Positivist methodology. He believes social world operates just like natural world. Social facts to be treated as things. There is cause-effect relation in the social world as well. Non-material social fact leading to social fact. These can be theorized, generalizations can be developed. Suicide rate increasing because of industrialization. The rapid industrialization leading to increased suicide rate. Law ही तो है ये. Okay. And his methodology was very much visible in his study of suicide. In study of suicide, he is positivist, purely positivist. In the study of division of labor, he is not positivist. He is a philosopher who is writing PhD dissertation. Okay, later on, division of labor was looked at through functionalist perspective as well, because he was looking into the functions of division of labor, creating organic solidarity, integration. Because of individualism, we had so much of weakening of social cohesion, but division of labor is a moral force which is going to bind us again with one another. Okay. So when it comes to positivist Durkheim, it is largely the study on suicide, which you can call as the reflection of positivist suicide, positivist Durkheim. Okay. Okay. Which means he followed scientific method. He looked into cause effect. He made laws also. सब यहीं बना लो. Concomitant variation. पूरा एकदम साइंटिस्ट की तरह स्टडी कर रहा है. Concomitant variation. ये सब उसने किस में किया? सुसाइड में किया. He did all these things in suicide. Okay. Marx methodology. What is the methodology followed by Marx? It is dialectical. Dialectical methodology. In the sense, Marx is not simply giving cause effect. He is not simply giving, although he does give cause effect, but see, dialectics is not just cause effect. What is dialectics? I say one thing, the thing which I said gets rejected by antithesis. Antithesis then gets rejected by another antithesis. Then comes synthesis. Synthesis becomes thesis. Again, it gets rejected by antithesis. Is this cause effect? You cannot really say cause effect. It is, see, for example, if I say, due to inherent contradictions within capitalism, the mode of production called as socialism would rise. Now, at the surface, it seems cause effect. But what about inherent contradictions? What are those things which are driving inherent contradictions? That is dialectics. And dialectics is not just cause effect. Okay. Capitalism, death of capitalism, rise of socialism may seem highly cause effect. But within this causal relation is going highly complex dialectical reasoning. Thesis rejected by antithesis, then forming synthesis, then rejected by. So this is not just a cause effect. It is more than that. Okay. So dialectical methodology. Okay. Causal relation is also there. आई एम नॉट सेइंग कॉजल रिलेशन है ही नहीं, he does believe in causal relations. Okay, and he believes that world is governed by laws. Okay, Weber. What is the methodology of Weber? The methodology of Weber, if you remember, is interpretative. Interpretative. But remember, we will not write like this. I'm going to tell you one word which you will use when it comes to methodology. Okay. One word and certain other keywords as well that you will have to remember. One word that I'm going to tell you on methodology of Weber is historical sociology. Historical sociology. Sorry, historical method, not historical sociology, historical method. Historical method. The method of Marx, remember, is not historical. The theory's name is historical materialism, but the method used to explain historical materialism is dialectics. Okay, यहाँ थोड़ा confusion होएगा, but इसको ना हो confusion इसलिए table बनाया मैंने. When you see a question on historical method, write only Max Weber, not Karl Marx. Okay, historical method. What is historical method? If you remember hermeneutics, I told you hermeneutics was about study of historical text and the intention of author. The same was extended to the study of social action, and therefore I said social action mein we have to understand social action in historical context. Bar I use the word historical context. So the same method was extended to the study of individual meanings in historical context. That is why it is historical method. The very method of understanding is a historical method, because you cannot understand social action without historical significance. See, when I taught you Protestant ethics, I taught you full history, which I was not supposed to tell you. Okay, still वर्ल्ड हिस्ट्री भी फ्री में पढ़ा रहा हूं मैं, ठीक है. तो मार्टिन लूथर भी थोड़ा थोड़ा मैंने बता दिया. But why did I teach you Martin Luther and all those people? Because Max Weber, in order to understand Protestant, he had to understand how Protestants came. And for this, he would have to read history. Therefore, you cannot simply understand social action of individual without going through history. It is only in the history that Weber could reveal the reasoning behind the meaning they attribute to the work. That is why it is historical method. Okay. And other than that, you know very well, historical method implies many things. It implies Verstehen. It implies causality. Causal relation, even Weber is doing, but it is not monocausal. This man is monocausal. This man is monocausal. This man is not monocausal. This is multicausal or adequate causal. Adequate causality means high probability this may have led to this, but not the only reason, therefore multi-causal. There are multiple other reasons as well. Okay. Multi-causality. Okay, Verstehen is there, causality. And third is ideal type. Okay. So this was about एकदम कान पता नहीं ऐसा हुआ कि आवाज ही चले गई जैसे. Now I'll discuss comparison from the perspective of the things they have studied. This was from the perspective of location. How do you locate them in sociology? Under which paradigm? Under which methodology? Okay. Now let us see what they have to say on the things that they have analyzed. For example, all of them, as you know, are the result of the period of great transformation. They have responded to the great transformation period. Industrialization, French Revolution, Reformation, Renaissance, Enlightenment. They are reacting to these forces, great transformation. Okay. When I look into Durkheim is concerned. He was a conservative. He believed traditional institutions have broken down. Individualism has come in, although I do not have any issue with individualism. I am politically liberal as well. I may be sociologically conservative, but I am politically liberal. But the problem is, what is that one thing which is going to bring the same solidarity again? And then he figured out that yes, it is the division of labor which is going to bring the same solidarity. Not the same qualitatively, this would be very different kind of solidarity. It will be weakened solidarity, but it will bring solidarity, a very different nature. That is why he called it organic. Okay. So modernity, according to Durkheim, what did modernity do? Modernity, mainly I would say, when Durkheim looks at modernity, he is responding to industrialization. Think like this. He is responding to force of industrialization. It has weakened cohesion, made people individualist, aspiring, ambitious. Okay. When Marx looks at modernity, he is not looking at industrialization per se. He is looking at capitalism. That is the focus of his work. Capitalism, not industrialization per se. Capitalism. Okay. Weber, when he looks at modernity, what is the subject matter of Weber? The larger, it is the process of rationalization. Not industrialization or capitalism per se, but rationalization, which he believes is the larger process. Capitalism is just a part of the larger process of rationalization. Okay. So when it comes to modernity, the subject matter of modernity to Durkheim is industrialization, to Marx is capitalism, to Weber it is rationalization. Next, concerns of modernity. When Durkheim looks at modernity, he has concerns. What are the concerns? Weakened social cohesion. Or what we also call as individualism. What is other concern? Anomie. What is other concern? Abnormal division of labor. These were the concerns of Durkheim. Okay. The concerns of Marx on modernity are of different nature. Marx is not talking about cohesion, individualism. These are not the things that he believes in. Okay. Because he never sees society as working for itself, institutions working for maintenance of society. He is very pessimistic about the functioning of institutions because they are working for the interest of capitalist class. What is bureaucracy? To bureaucracy, to Marx, bureaucracy is nothing but a machinery which is planted to secure the interest of capitalist class. Okay, bureaucracy is not working for the maintenance of system. It is working to secure interest of capitalist. What is state? State is a machinery working to secure the interest of capitalist class. What is religion? Religion is working to secure the interest of capitalist class. What is law? Law is working to secure the interest of capitalist class. जितनी चीजें हैं इस दुनिया में सब अमीरों के फेवर के लिए बनी है, ठीक है, गरीबी को जस्टिफाई करने के लिए बनी है. व्हाट इज एजुकेशन? एजुकेशन इज बेस्ड ऑन क्लास प्रिविलेज. जिसका पास ज्यादा पैसा उसकी अच्छी एजुकेशन, जो गरीब उसको जस्टिफाई किया जाता है मेरिट के नाम पे. सिस्टम वाज मेरिटोक्रेटिक. यू कुड नॉट क्लियर बिकॉज यू डू नॉट हैव merit. अरे he could not clear because he does not have class position. This is the fact, because who has class will have merit. पैसा होगा तभी ऑक्सफोर्ड जाओगे ना. ठीक है, ये नहीं बोल सकते कि ऑक्सफोर्ड इसलिए नहीं गया क्योंकि आप पढ़े नहीं. अरे पढ़ इसलिए नहीं पाए क्योंकि पैसा नहीं था इतना. मेन तो वो है. तो मार्क्स बड़ा अलग तरीका है मार्क्स का दुनिया को देखने का. ठीक है. So Marx says the concern of modernity is not weakened social cohesion but exploitation of working class, appropriation of surplus value generated by the labor of working class by the capitalist. Appropriation of surplus value. अमीर लोग उनकी मेहनत का खा रहे हैं और उनको कुछ नहीं मिल रहा है. सारा पैसा वो हड़प रहे हैं, अप्रोप्रिएट कर रहे हैं. दे आर अप्रोप्रिएटिंग, द कैपिटलिस्ट आर अप्रोप्रिएटिंग द वेल्थ ऑफ लेबर. Appropriation of surplus value. Okay. It is not anomie that he is concerned with. He is concerned with alienation. It is not the alienation of bourgeoisie that he is concerned with. He is concerned about alienation of working class proletariat. Okay. He does not look at division of labor as normal or abnormal. He treats division of labor as an instrument to exploit working class. Okay. Why? Because what happens in division of labor? The moment labor is divided, the moment we have division of labor, it justifies, it automatically, it does too many things basically. First, it justifies why you should get low labor, a low wage. Okay. Second, in the name of specialization, you are alienating from your creativity. आपको बोल दिया जाएगा आप स्पेशलिस्ट हो, आप एग्जीक्यूटिव हो, ठीक है, बट एग्जीक्यूटिव बोल के क्या किया जाएगा? That person would not be able to explore his potential beyond this executive domain. In the sense, suppose like for example, जैसे हम बोलते हैं PhD हो आप, ठीक है, तो PhD होना कोई अच्छी चीज नहीं है मार्क्स के लिए, क्योंकि PhD का मतलब है now you do not know anything else, you are specialist of this only. And this happened actually when I went to Delhi University for the first time. I, as like a very curious or very normal individual, I used to ask some teachers, okay, the meaning of certain theoretical concepts, okay, and they used to tell me this you can ask to Professor Deshpande or Professor Abhijit Gupta because they are, you know, teaching theories. So I used to think like, but you are also teacher of sociology, no? But no, but my department is, you know, family kinship. I am a specialized in family matters. So I used to think like, why ऐसा क्यों होता है? I mean, very basic question that I actually was thinking about. Okay, your specialization may be religion, religious studies, or media studies, or maybe gender studies, but then you must have studied sociology before you attained specialization in one thing, but then they do not really know. Okay, this happens. So that means your potential is not actually polished, rather you are reduced to one domain in the name of specialization. And this is what Marxist scholars, specifically scholars like Braverman, which I will discuss later on, they call it de-skilling. It is not skilled labor, it is de-skilled. Okay. Anyhow, alienation he is concerned with. Okay. Division of labor is exploitative instrument. To Durkheim, division of labor brings solidarity. To Marx, Division of labor justifies exploitation. Okay. And alienates individual from their real potential creative self. Weber. Division of labor. Where did you read Weber division of labor? In bureaucracy. It is one of the feature of bureaucracy. Okay. So Weber, according to Weber, division of labor is there to ensure efficiency in the organization. He is not talking about exploitative nature of division of labor. He is not talking about division of labor bringing us together, creating solidarity, making us interdependent upon each other. Okay. He is simply looking at division of labor through instrumental perspective. Okay, it brings in efficiency at the workplace. Simple. Okay. And also remember, as I told you, Weber had ambivalent views. Means he had two opposite kind of views, largely on bureaucracy. So if division of labor is there to bring efficiency, another view by Weber is that division of labor restricts efficiency. एकदम ऑपोजिट व्यू है. Why? Division of labor brings efficiency. Okay. Secondly, the same division of labor in bureaucracy may not yield result. May not yield result. Why? Because now you are concerned more about rules, hierarchy, the process that has to be followed. Without process being followed, we cannot complete the task. No, we cannot help you unless we get orders or approval from seniors. So this division of labor is restricting you from helping the other person who is your client, and this is nothing but irrationality of rationality. Irrationality of rationality. Okay. Next. Religion. Let us see what Durkheim, Marx and Weber has to say on religion, although this is something I'll be teaching you as well later on, but you will now have fair idea. When Durkheim is looking at religion, he is looking at functions of religion. Functions of religion. What is the function of religion? Durkheim talks about 3-4 functions. It brings solidarity. First, it is a force of social control. Okay, constrains individuals, brings solidarity within those individuals. Okay, also has cognitive functions. So this is euphoric, yes, basically. Okay, brings in collective effervescence, unites them. This creates a charge which is out of them, external to them, coercive on them as well, and it brings in solidarity within those people. Okay, so they will start crying when they look at their favorite musician, something like that. Okay, आपस में काफी गहरी दोस्ती हो जाती है. रिलीजन का एक्सपीरियंस ऐसा होता है. So he is looking at the functions of religion. Marx, what is the function of religion according to Marx? The function of religion is to opiate the masses. to nullify their consciousness and to let the capitalist class exploit them forever in the name of sending them to heaven, or in the name of saying that more you work, the more you get reward, the more you secure your seat in heaven. What is happening? The capitalist class is not letting revolutionary consciousness to get developed among the masses. हेवन का नाम दे दे के उनको एक्सप्लॉइट किया जाता है. एकदम ही अलग नजरिया. रेवोल्यूशन कभी लाएंगे नहीं वो लोग. सो द फंक्शन ऑफ रिलीजन इज टू सिक्योर द इंटरेस्ट ऑफ कैपिटलिस्ट क्लास. Weber, what is the function of religion? Or is Weber talking about function of religion? Weber is trying to study the social action of religious people like Hindus, Protestants, Muslims, Buddhists. And after studying the social action of these people, he came to conclusion that some set of religions have a power to bring in another force called as capitalism. That way, religion is a source of social change. If it was not for Protestant ethics, capitalism would not have gotten developed. So, religion is not just a religion, it is a source of social change. रेफॉर्मेशन के बाद कैपिटलिज्म आया, यानी कुछ तो बात है प्रोटेस्टेंट्स में. ठीक है. सो वेबर इज सेइंग रिलीजन इज अ सोर्स ऑफ सोशल चेंज, बट विच रिलीजन? अनलाइक मार्क्स एंड डरखाइम. डरखाइम तो बोलते हैं रिलीजन रिलीजन, मैक्स बोलता है ऐसे नहीं, रिलीजन नहीं, प्रोटेस्टेंट रिलीजन. दैट मीन्स ही इज बीइंग वेरी स्पेसिफिक about religion. ऐसा नहीं religion as an idea. Because Weber says Protestant religion has this power to bring in social change. Other religions do not have this power to bring in social change. That means, according to Weber, Protestant religion can bring social change, capitalism. Other religions cannot do so. That means religion as a system can be a source of both social change and can also be a source of status quoism. स्टेटस को मेंटेन करके रखेंगे, कैपिटलिज्म आने नहीं देंगे. क्या बात है. डिपेंड करता है कौन से रिलीजन की बात कर रहे हो. इफ यू आर टॉकिंग अबाउट हिंदुइज्म, इट विल नेवर लेट कैपिटलिज्म कम. दैट मींस हिंदुइज्म विल मेंटेन द सिस्टम एज इट इज, स्टेटस को मेंटेन रहेगा. Protestantism will bring in capitalism. That means Protestant has the power to bring social change. So therefore Europe got advanced and India could not get advanced. India रह गया underdeveloped. वही सिस्टम मेंटेन आज तक. कास्ट हमें रूल कर रहा है. आज तक हम कास्ट के ऊपर एडिटोरियल्स लिखते हैं, कास्ट के ऊपर आज तक नोट्स बनते हैं. इंडियन पेपर 2 हम पढ़ते हैं कास्ट, यानी हमारे कोई एडवांसमेंट हुई नहीं अभी तक. हम वही अंडर सिविलाइज्ड, अनसिविलाइज्ड, बैकवर्ड और कास्ट कास्ट कास्ट, मिश्रा जी, पंडित जी, पांडे जी, यही करते रहते हैं. We know people by their last names. In America, they know people by their first names. Hi, Mr. John. कितना फर्क है? John, Alex, Jimmy. Okay, but here, पांडे, ओए मिश्रा, ये करते हैं हम यहां पे. ठीक है. So basically, and if I ask you, is religion a source of status quo or source of social change according to Marx, what will you say? Preventing the system to change or bringing social change? Think like this. Is the religion preventing the system to change? Yes, it is preventing. Therefore, religion is status quoist. Religion does not let revolutionary consciousness to get developed among the exploited people. बार बार उनको लगता है कि हमें हेवन जाना है, नहीं ये वो सब, जबकि आइडिया सारे बुर्जुआ के क्रिएटेड हैं ताकि एक्सप्लॉइट करते जाएं उनको. ओके, सो दिस वाज ऑल अबाउट, आई थिंक, आई होप मैंने कुछ मिस नहीं किया है. One last thing I can discuss is some of the solutions that they have given to the problems that they came across. What is the solution proposed by these people for different problems? Solutions. Problems इन्होंने बहुत गिना दी. Solutions क्या है? According to Durkheim, the solution to the problems of modernity is, you will tell me, reforms. What reforms? What things in the reforms? Division of labor, normal social reforms. Yes. Professional associations. Okay. Moral state, code of conduct, moral education. These are some of the reforms that we have to bring in. Only then the normal division of labor will come in and society will evolve in a way that it was supposed to evolve. Okay. So the solutions: professional associations, then moral education. Okay, moral state, all these things. Okay, professional ethics. Marx, the solution according to Marx are revolution and communism, nothing else. कुछ नहीं होगा रिफॉर्म से. Revolution and communism. Okay. Solution to Weber. Very interesting. See, Max Weber is also called as bourgeois Marx. Okay. He is known as bourgeois Marx. Why? इसका solution जो है थोड़ा अलग है. He is called as bourgeois Marx. Karl Marx का bourgeois वर्जन है ये. ठीक है. इसका मतलब क्या है? ये देखो प्रॉब्लम क्या है कि मार्क्स एंड वेबर बोथ डिड नॉट लाइक कैपिटलिज्म. इवन वेबर वाज नेवर इन सपोर्ट ऑफ कैपिटलिज्म. ओके, this is something that he has clearly stated in his books, that even I am not happy with the present state. Okay, but the reasons are very different. He is not happy with capitalism because he sees working class exploitation by bourgeois class. ऐसा इतना reductionist analysis नहीं उसका. He is not happy with capitalism because in capitalism there is no space for emotion. We have become highly disenchanted. We are concerned only about wealth, only about our status. Okay, we are no longer concerned with helping people. The rules are made and this brings in impersonality and we become more separated from individuals, and this he calls as societal alienation. So it is not just alienation, it is societal, in the sense you as an individual are going to be alienated, not because you are doing something which is 1% of your potential. You are alienated because you are not doing something as a human. You are doing something to make that task machine-like efficient. There is a huge difference between the perspectives of these people. Okay. आप किसी काम को मशीन लाइक एफिशिएंसी के लिए कर रहे होगे आज की डेट में, कल की डेट में. दिस इज व्हाट कैपिटलिज्म इज. कैपिटलिज्म रिवॉर्ड्स एफिशिएंसी in the name of efficiency, and capitalism is just one of the part of larger process of rationalization. So if the force of rationalization is all about calculability, predictability, and efficiency and non-human technology, you will see these elements in capitalism. You saw that in McDonald. Okay, so capitalism is just one part of the larger process of rationalization. Okay, you will see the same force of rationalization even in the school. For example, in the school, what will happen? Do you think teacher will be friendly to students, concerned about students? No. To teacher, student is not. The name of student to the teacher in school is not this Prashant, Swapnil, Rupan, Shubhangi, Vijay, Prakash, Raghavan. To the school teacher, the students are roll number 1, roll number 2, roll number 3, roll number 4. Okay, they have become completely alienated from who the students are. The student to them is nothing but a means to get promotion. In the sense, the more better the result of their class is, the better their chances to promote themselves to the higher ranks. Bureaucracy going on there. Okay, and remember, when a teacher would fail student in the class, okay, or give him lowest or her lowest marks, she is not or he is not going to be emotional about it. He would simply present the mark sheet. See your mark sheet, E grade. This is what your performance is. They will talk to your parents. We will have parent teacher meeting. In the parent teacher meeting, you will be sitting like this as a sir yoga ke, and the conscious individual is you know situated in a corner as an object, or as if it is an object of discussion. Now just you are just an object of discussion between two conscious, rule bound, formal, mature being. Okay, that is one teacher, that is one parent. Okay, and thinking and concerned about efficiency of this product. इसको तेल लगाओ, इसको अच्छा खाना खिलाओ तो ये efficient होएगा, अच्छे marks आएंगे. You have simply become one individual जिससे efficiency expect की जाती है, and which is not there in the grade sheet. I can see E. Okay, you are good only if you have A. This is what you have become. This is what Max Weber was concerned with. That this is what irrationality of rationality is. Human is no longer seen as human. Human is seen as an instrument of efficiency, calculability. Someone who should be predictable, who is successful, someone who works like machine efficiently. This is what the notion of human, according to Weber, is going to be in the process of rationalization. And you cannot do anything about it. But the solution then finally Max Weber gives. Max Weber is one person who did not like Bismarck. It was the times of Bismarck when Max Weber was writing these things. And Max Weber never had any hope even from the masses. The hope that Marx had from the masses. Okay, the masses will bring in revolution and then egalitarian society will get developed. This kind of hope Max Weber does not share with Marx, although he is critical of capitalism, but for very different reason. Okay. Max Weber says the hope lies not with the masses because, or not even with the bureaucrats, because masses and bureaucrats, you would not be seeing any difference between them. Okay. They are simply manifestation of the formal rationality. But if you really want to have a solution, the solution lies in, remember, जब भी crisis आएगा, who will come and help the people to bring social change in society? That will be the charismatic authority. One charismatic man will come one day and he will bring in a new society. And this is a form of crisis that we are living in right now, which is not seen as crisis to us. These things, until you started learning sociology, you were looking at these things as normal thing. Okay, but you never looked at these things the way Max Weber, Marx, and Durkheim did. Okay, the things that we take for granted, to some that is a reflection of anomy, to some it is reflection of alienation, to some it is reflection of irrationality of rationality. And these three are having different solutions. Max Weber finally says that it is the creative and the most honest and the most charismatic leader which is going to bring in social change. Okay, and he reposed faith in political leader, not in bureaucrat or not in the masses, because he felt more we get advanced towards socialism or communism, more we are going to get rationalized. More bureaucracy is going to get concentrated. Russia and China are the biggest examples. In the name of socialism, it is the bureaucracy which is ruling there. And therefore, he says it is not the dictatorship of proletariat, it is the dictatorship of the officials that is going to reign over the civilizations in the future. And therefore, the hope lies in a creative, a charismatic leader. This was his solution. Okay. So this was all about the three scholars. I hope you would not have any confusion, and you can go through notes as well. Sir, paradigm versus methodology तो कैसे हो गए? टाइम देख लो कितना हो गया है, 5 बज गए. तो पैराडाइम वर्सेस मेथोडोलॉजी को कैसे डिफरेंशिएट करना है? पैराडाइम का मतलब कुछ नहीं होता है सेट ऑफ बिलीफ. मेथोडोलॉजी मतलब सेट ऑफ मेथड्स. Methodology means set of method used by a scientist, natural science or social scientist to carry out research. भाई मैक्स वेबर को रैशनलाइजेशन समझने के लिए क्या क्या मेथड यूज करने पड़े? आइडियल टाइप, फेस्टिहन, एडिक्वेट कॉजेलिटी, ये सब चीजें उसको देखनी पड़ी. सर इज वेबर इन बिटवीन डर्कहाइम एंड मार्क्स व्हेन इट कम्स टू आइडियोलॉजी? आइडियोलॉजी की अच्छा ऐसे गिव बोथ फंक्शनल, नहीं, वेबर नेवर गिव फंक्शनल थ्योरी. किस चीज का फंक्शन उसने देखा? डिड ही टॉक अबाउट फंक्शन ऑफ एनीथिंग? He is not talking about function to the system. He was against organicist. He was against positivist. सबसे पहला लेक्चर यही था मेरा मैक्स वेबर पे, ठीक है, कि पॉजिटिविस्ट के अगेंस्ट है वो. He is not looking at laws, तो he is not functionalist. He is not conflict scholar. Generally, yes, आगे जाके आपको पता चलेगा कॉन्फ्लिक्ट में कैसे वो आ जाता है बाद में, कॉन्फ्लिक्ट ट्रेडिशन में कैसे बिलोंग करता है. बट हमें क्या समझना है अभी के लिए? हमारे लिए इंपॉर्टेंट ये है कि ही इज नीदर फंक्शनलिस्ट नॉर कॉन्फ्लिक्ट, ही इज इंटरप्रिटेटिव और इंटरैक्शनिस्ट. इंटरैक्शनिस्ट इन द सेंस बिकॉज ही इज स्टडीइंग इंटरैक्शन, social action of the individuals. That is why he is an interactionist. Subject matter of sociology, according to Marx, in one word: class conflict. The history of our society hitherto has been history of class struggle. Class struggle is the subject matter of sociology. Pranshu, okay sir, thank you, great lecture. Okay, so कल मिलते हैं हम. We'll start with Talcott Parsons.